In this video, I will introduce you to Microsoft Excel and go through some of the graphical elements that you look at when you first open the program. Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet program that allows you to enter text and numerical data. You can then analyze, manipulate, and chart that data, as well as perform calculations. When you open up Excel, it opens in a workbook that contains one worksheet by default. As you can see, the worksheet looks like a grid of rows and columns. You can add new worksheets to the workbook as needed. I'm pointing down here. You would be able to click New Sheet. You may be asking yourself how many sheets you can add to a workbook. The simple answer is most likely more than you will ever need. Microsoft has not put a limitation on adding new worksheets, so it will really come down to your computer's memory resources. Now that you know what kind of program Microsoft Excel is, let's go through the graphical user interface. I'm pointing up here to the top of the window. This is called the title bar. Over to the left of the title bar, you'll see a quick access toolbar. The quick access toolbar contains frequently used buttons. As you can see here, you can start a new workbook, you can open an existing workbook, and you can save this workbook. You can add new buttons to the quick access toolbar by clicking the drop-down arrow, and you can select the buttons that you would like to add. You can also go into more commands, and you can select from the buttons listed here and place them over on the quick access toolbar. On the right side of the title bar, you'll see the option to sign in. If you click Sign In, this will allow you to sync your Microsoft program with your OneDrive account in the cloud. This is your ribbon display options. If you click this button, you'll see Auto Hide, Show Tabs, and Show Tabs and Commands. If I click Auto Hide Ribbon, you can see that the ribbon has been hidden. If I click up here on the title bar, the ribbon is displayed again, but if I click back into my worksheet, the ribbon is hidden again. I'm going to click on the title bar and go back to ribbon display options, and this time I'll click Show Tabs, and now we only see the tabs of the ribbon. If I want to see the ribbon, I would have to click on the tab that I want, and then the ribbon will be displayed. And again, if I click back into my worksheet, you'll notice that the ribbon will disappear again, and I can only see these tabs. So I really like to work in this one, Show Tabs and Commands, and that's the one that's usually turned on by default. Next to the ribbon display options is the Minimize button. I'm going to click Minimize, and it minimizes Excel down to the taskbar. I'm going to click on the Excel button again. This button right here is your Maximize Restore. I'm currently maximized, so if I click this button, it will restore it down to a smaller size. I'm going to click on it again, and it's maximized again. And then, of course, this button is the Close button. This entire area is called your ribbon, and you'll notice that the ribbon has several tabs at the top. Everything is grouped in a logical way. So I'm going to go back to the Home ribbon. The Home ribbon contains some of the more frequently used features in Microsoft Excel. You'll notice that everything is grouped together by like category. So for instance, this is my font group, and you'll notice that the font group would allow you to change the appearance of your text. Bold, italic, underline. You could fill color behind your text. You can change your font color of your text. You can change your font style, your font size. You can increase your font or decrease your font. So those are all grouped together. You'll notice that most of these grouped areas will also have a little symbol in the lower right corner, and that is called a launcher. If you click on the launcher, it would open up a dialog box that gives you more options having to do with your font. So for example, in this box, I have the strike through option, superscript, and subscript, which you do not see in this grouping here. So sometimes it is necessary to go into the launcher to look for additional features. I'm going to go ahead and click Cancel to close out of that. Underneath the ribbon to the left, I'm pointing at this area here called the name box. The name box will show the cell address of the selected cells. So for instance, I currently have cell A1 selected, and that's what's showing in the name box. But if I click in cell D10, that is what is showing in the name box. Now that may seem unnecessary at this point, but there is a greater purpose to the name box. You can name ranges that would be listed in here, and you can use those named ranges to quickly select areas. You can also use those named ranges to create formulas. You'll notice to the right of the name box there is a little vertical dot dot dot. If you position your mouse right on top of that dot dot dot, you'll see a resize pointer, and you can click and drag to resize your name box. To the right of that is your cancel button, your enter button, and your insert function button. You'll notice that the cancel button is grayed out, which means it's not available right now. But if I were to start to type something and I want to cancel what I'm typing, I can click the cancel button and then that text will go away. The enter button is also grayed out until you start typing text into a cell. So if I type some text and I click the enter button, it will enter that text into the cell. The insert function button has a library of functions that can be used to calculate data. To the right of the insert function button, this area is called your formula bar. The formula bar will show the data that is entered into a cell. You'll notice way over to the right of the formula bar there's a drop down arrow, and if you click on that bar, that will expand your formula bar so that you can see some of the longer formulas that you've typed in. I'm going to go ahead and collapse that. Now let's look at the worksheet area and go through some of these terms. So as I said, the worksheet area looks like a grid. Each letter at the top here is called a column heading. A column is vertical, so column A contains all of the cells directly underneath that column heading. A row is horizontal, so row 1 contains all of the cells to the right of that row heading. So all of these numbers here in the gray area are considered row headings. You may be asking yourself how many rows, how many columns are within a worksheet. There are over 1 million rows and over 16,000 columns. Each intersecting column and row is considered a cell. So if I were to go to cell D10, that is the intersection between column D and row 10. That makes the cell address D10. In Excel, a cell range is when you're referring to a group of cells that are in contiguous order. So for example, if I select A1 through D10, that range would be listed as A1 with a colon and then D10, and that would mean everything between A1 to D10. When you begin creating formulas and performing calculations, you'll often be typing in cell ranges as I just described. When you want to type something in Microsoft Excel, you simply click on the cell and then you begin typing, and your text will appear in that cell, and you simply press enter to kind of lock that text in. In the lower right corner, you'll notice that it says Sheet 1. This is the one worksheet within this workbook. If I would like to add a new worksheet, I click the plus, and now I have Sheet 2. You'll notice over to the right, I have a horizontal scroll bar that lets me scroll back and forth from the left to the right. I also have a vertical scroll bar over here on the right side of the page that lets me scroll up and down. In the lower left corner of the Excel window is the status bar. Over to the right, you'll notice that I have some view buttons over here. This is my normal view. That's the current view that I'm in. This is the page layout view. This is what the page layout view looks like. This one is page break preview. I'm going to go back to normal view. You can also zoom in and out of your worksheet by clicking on the plus or the minus, or you can select the zoom slider and zoom in and out that way. You also have the option to click directly on top of this percentage in the lower right corner, and when you do that you can select specifically the magnification that you want and then OK. So that's my overview of the Microsoft Excel graphical user interface. If you want to learn more about Excel, make sure you click the next video in my Excel playlist.